In previous videos we've looked at conditional formatting and sorting and drop-down lists. So why don't we put those all together and see how powerful it can be. I'm just looking at our example props data here. So if we wanted to say see props by their category, so in their personal props or consumables, we can do that with a filter and using a drop-down box to make it all dynamic. So let's have a look at how to do that. Let's start with an empty sheet. I'm going to go over to the prop sheet and I'm going to copy our headings. I'm going to put those in row 2. And then in row 1, in F, is where we're going to create our drop down of all of our categories. So since we're just doing a single drop down, there is a shortcut where we can type @ and start typing drop down, and there it comes up. Press enter and we can do new drop down. Our drop down is going to be from a range. So we click on the 4 squares and we're going to go over to props list and we're going to select all of our categories. So we can select down, and if we go in and drop off the last number, so we're selecting F2 to F and click OK. Go back to our new sheet and now we have a drop down which has all of our consumables or personal props, and once again I'm just going to change that to the arrow option there. Let's make that a little bit wider, and why don't we make this cell, give it a colour just so we can see it. So at the moment it's a drop down box but it doesn't do anything, so let's make it a bit more interesting. So over here let's type equals filter. First thing it's asking for is the range, so let's go back to our props list and we want to select our entire range. Now so if we highlight column F from F2 down, and again we're just going to drop off those last numbers, and we're going to say when F2 to F is equal to, and then we're going to go back to our new sheet and click on F1. So when F2 to F is equal to whatever is in F1, we want to see all of that returned. So press enter, and now you can see that it's showing us everything that is dressing. If we change that to personal prop, it will show us the personal props, and if we change it to consumables, all the consumables and all the makes. And that's how we can make a dynamic filter using drop-down lists. So if we want to do that for character, we can use exactly the same process. So let's just duplicate this filter. And the first thing we want to do is we want to change the drop down. So the drop down this time we want to apply to the cast list. And the cast list, if from the previous video, I don't know if you remember, actually exists in one of the drop downs. So we can click on our 4 boxes and we can select our range, lose the last 2 numbers to give us the whole column, click OK, click done. Let's go back to our filter, and now you can see there's a little red triangle in the side which is telling us it's invalid. So if I now click the drop down, we now have all of the cast available, but we're returning an NA, and that is because we have to adjust our filter function, because our filter function is looking for a match in column F, and the cast list, if we go back to our props list, is actually in column D. So if we go back to our filter and we change the F to D, now it will return props used by each character. So Charlie, there we go, there's Charlie's props. If we have a look, it looks like Mrs. TV doesn't have any props, and yep, she doesn't have any props. So instead of the NA, what we can do is we can wrap this filter in an if NA open brackets close brackets, and what that's saying is if it returns NA, then it will show us a blank. So if I now press enter, we get a blank. So let's go through and find some others. Grandpa Joe, Sherry, there we go, and that seems to work. Where the drop down lists and filters really come into their own is, say, in a master tech plot. So I have a master tech plot here. But say I just want to pull off the flies or the automation cue sheets, I can apply the same filter. I'm filtering everything on my master plot, and I'm filtering it by the C column, which is the column that contains the department, and as long as that is equal to what is in B1, that's what will get shown. So let's do some flies. Oh, we've got flies. Let's do automation. Now that's fine and dandy, but we have no scene references here at all. If we go back to our master, I can see that we do have scene references. So we can actually add another condition to our filter. It's a little bit tricky, so let's have a look at that. So what we've got is we've got our original filter here, then we're adding, which acts like an OR, and this statement here is we're saying that if column B, and column B is where our scene titles are, even though they're spreading across, they actually are housed in column B. So if column B, first of all it says if it's blank, return it, but then we're also adding in a not. So we're effectively saying wherever column B is not blank, return that as well. So that whole filter is saying if column C on the master new sheet equals what is the value that is in B1, and in this case flies, return all of those rows, and if column B is not empty, return that row as well. And that way we get our scene references as well. So if I click on auto, we can now go through and we see our scene references on which cues happen within the scenes. Now I hope this is of use, and if it is, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.